What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, as the title suggests, we're going to go over 5 things that I like about my Nissan GTR. So stay tuned. Thank you guys for clicking on this video. As always, make sure you guys drop a like, comment down below, subscribe, hit the bell, follow me on Instagram if you want to. And now let's get into this video. So for those of you guys who are new to the channel, this is one of your first videos. This is my 2018 Nissan GTR Premium with the pearl white paint, as well as one of my favorite parts that we'll get to later in this video, the red guts, red interior. I think it's a beautiful combo, definitely one of the things that sold me on this specific GTR. And we are currently sitting on some 20-inch Advan GT premiums, but I got this car back in May. I've had it for 3 months now. I also bought this car a little bit modified. It has a tune on it, downpipes, a white pipe, as well as some HKS blow-off valves. This has been one of my dream cars for a very long time, and I actually came from a BMW F80 M3, so this is a big change for me, going to the JDM space, if you would say. But now let's get into this top 5 list. So starting this list at number 1, it's actually going to be the history and lineage behind the GTR badge itself. So I'm a huge GTR fan. I love the R32s, the R33s, and who doesn't love the R34s when, you know, Paul Walker and the Fast and Furious franchise made it so popular back in the early 2000s. I actually think that's what got a lot of people, including myself, you know, into cars, into modifying cars, and then just how popular it became with Paul Walker really made me fall in love with GTRs even before this R35 model came out back in 2008. So going back to the history, if you guys look up the R32 back in 91 through 94, I believe, before the R33 came out, you guys will see that it was smoking everybody on the racetrack. And that's actually why the Australians, you know, dubbed the R32 with the nickname Godzilla, because it literally destroyed everything in its way when it came to racing. But I think that's super amazing because the GTR badge isn't just a name. It actually stands behind Nissan and Nismo, their racing program, as well as all their success in the 90s when it comes to motorsports and racing. And after all their success, you know, they come out with the R34, I think in 99, and, you know, Fast and Furious just blew that car up with the popularity. And now 20 years later, you can't even get one for, you know, sub $100,000 because they're so rare, so sought after because of all the import laws and whatnot. And ever since then, I've always made it a dream of mine to own one day. And we finally made it happen. I am super excited, super blessed, but that's going to lead me into point number 2, which is the overall looks of the R35 GTR. Not everybody will agree, but to me, the GTR looks amazing. It looks so aggressive, so clean, so sleek at the same time. And if you look at the bare bones and how Nissan built this, it is a race car slash track weapon, you know, made for the streets. And the overall design, especially with mine being a 2017 plus model, with the new front bumper, the super sleek design that the Nissan engineers came up with to have all the aerodynamics on the track, as well as little things like this. They made seamless door handles. Coming down the body lines, coming to my favorite part of the car probably, which is that rear section, which is gigantic. It's massive. Those signature taillights you can see from a mile away. And when I was growing up and I saw one of these cars on the highway or just driving past me, I was like, holy shit. That's a GTR. But again, this car is super, super wide. It's so fat. Coming from an F80 M3, which is also wide. I mean, this car, I think, is a little wider when it comes to the rear end, of course. But just the overall looks and aggression and how clean the car is, you know, something that I fell in love with immediately. And then when they came out with the facelift model in 2017 with the front bumper, the rear bumper, it was a no-brainer for me. I actually think they just improved upon the design even more so, bringing everything into the modern century, as well as updating this interior, which a lot of people faulted the pre-generation GTRs for. Like, look at this side profile of the GTR. It is unmatched. It looks so, so good. And I think the Nissan engineers, again, knocked it out of the park. Some people might not agree, but I think this has the same road presence, you know, when you see it driving around as a supercar. And I think some of you guys can agree with me there. This thing looks like an absolute monster driving on the road. And that leads me to the last point that I would like to make on this topic, is the rarity. You don't really see GTRs on the road, and if you do, you break your neck if you're anything like me. Seeing these cars in the movies and then seeing them in real life, you know, not a lot of people have them. It's definitely rare and something that you guys don't see quite often, and I actually really like that about it. And this is actually one of the reasons why, you know, I actually left the BMW family, is because GTRs are rare to come by, and, you know, I really wanted something unique, something you don't see everywhere. And I think this car is exactly what I wanted. Like, I personally don't think the GTR has any bad angles, no matter what side you're looking at it from the rear, from the side, from the front. And another drawing point on the rear end, besides the signature taillights, are these massive exhaust tips that GTRs are known for as well. These are 5-inch exhaust tips from the factory, which is absolutely insane. I think every exhaust tip that I ran on my BMWs have been around 3 inches or 3.5 inches, but 5-inch tips, you can literally stick your whole fist in there, which is so crazy. And of course, I can't continue to the next section without going over my favorite mod that I've done so far, which are these Advan GT Premiums, and we refinished them in a gloss black. And again, they're sitting on some crazy fat 4S tires. These look so good. Again, black wheels aren't for everybody, but I think the whole Panda spec that we have going on right now looks amazing. And yeah, I'm so happy with the turnout. Another thing about this car, you know, with the rarity, you don't really see it much on the road. And then actually from the other side, when I'm driving this car, the amount of looks and thumbs up I get, you know, people recording with their phone out the window. I definitely did not get that many, you know, driving in my F80 M3. Again, I think that's just because of the road presence of this car, the history, the lineage, Godzilla, supercar killer, all the nicknames, and that's actually something that I really come to love within my 3-month ownership so far. All right, so to recap, the number one thing that I love is the history, the lineage behind the GTR badge, you know, with the racing, with the nickname Godzilla. Number 2 is the looks and the rarity of these cars. You don't see them quite often. And getting into number 3, which is actually one of my favorite parts, is the sound. So if you're not familiar with the GTR, this is powered by a VR38 engine. It's a twin turbo V6 engine. And my specific GTR, again, like I said in the beginning, is actually a little bit modified. We have some HKS blow-off valves. And then I also have downpipes, a tune, and an aftermarket white pipe on the car. So I think the car sounds absolutely amazing. From inside the cabin, when you hear the blow-off valves while you're driving and you're letting off, it sounds so sick, as well as the exhaust note in the back. I think it sounds like beautiful trumpets, as my boy Naldo said, Black Sap M3. I think the sound of the VR38 sounds amazing, especially when you have, you know, an aftermarket exhaust on this car, which we're actually in the works of getting a new exhaust, probably ordered this month, so stay tuned for those videos. But yeah, I love the sound of the VR38, as well as the ability, of course, you know, to shoot massive flames, as everybody knows. But let's go ahead and start the car up and give you guys some standing exhaust revs. So as you guys can hear, the car sounds amazing. And again, these are aftermarket parts that you can install on the car to make the experience more enjoyable. You can also install some intakes as well. But I think these HKS blow-off valves do the trick. And man, I shit you not, every time I get into this car, it is smiles per gallon. I am grinning cheek to cheek. Again, because I can hear the induction noise coming from the front with these crazy blow-off valves. And then I can also hear the VR38 screaming behind, you know, with that beautiful exhaust note, with the downpipes and the white pipe. And I think it's gonna sound even crazier when we get the new exhaust in. It's gonna sound absolutely mental. Can't wait to show you guys. But yeah, that is the third thing that I love about my GTR, and that's the sound. All right, number 4 on this list is actually gonna consist of 3 components, and that's drivability, daily ability, and tunability. I think for drivability, this car is amazing. It is all-wheel drive. It is my first all-wheel drive car. And I think the, you know, Ateza all-wheel drive system that the Nissan engineers came up with in 2008 is absolutely amazing. This is actually my daily driver. You know, quite the contrary to what a lot of people think. The GTR is actually very comfortable to drive. Right now I'm on stock suspension, so I think that has to do a lot with the dampening and the rideability. I think this car is super easy to drive. It's super comfortable. Even my wife agrees, and she's used to my F80 M3, you know, with the KW Has kit that was super stiff and then feeling it in your spine, you know what I mean? But the GTR is a great daily. You know, I take it to the gym, to the store, for out-of-town trips, and I've had no issues with it so far. I think similar to the M3, you know, as long as you take care of the routine maintenance and the big ticket items that you need to do, I think you'll be set and you don't have to worry about major issues, again, if you just keep up with that routine maintenance. But going back to the drivability of the GTR, I think it drives amazing on the road. And this is actually, you know, my first all-wheel drive car. And to be 100% honest and transparent with you, I really don't feel the weight of the GTR. With it being heavier than most cars with the all-wheel drive system, I think the same goes for, you know, the G80s nowadays. It is a heavier car than the previous platform, but you don't feel the weight because of what the engineers did with the transmission, the engine, and the power, you know what I mean? So with it being all-wheel drive, I think it grips the road amazing. The steering feel is so precise when you're turning, and inside the car it just hugs you and tucks you back into those seats. And yeah, with the front wheel, you know, assisting you as well, you really feel in control of the car. You have confidence while you're driving around. Obviously you don't feel like your rear end's gonna kick out on you, and then you just feel more in control and more in tune, you know, when you're driving on the road. And don't get it twisted, these 345s grip like no other. I have not spun yet, obviously, because, you know, all-wheel drive, but these 345s are literally the biggest tire that I've ever had on any of my personal cars. And man, this thing hooks and grips like no other. And then like I just mentioned, when you're going into a turn, when you're exiting off a highway or you're merging onto a highway, and you're making that really wide turn, it just pulls you in the direction that you're steering, and it's so precise, and I absolutely love that feeling. The last thing I want to touch on is tunability. Everybody knows GTRs can go crazy fast. You can go up to the 3,000 horsepower number if you really want to, and go to Texas 2K and race a bunch of twin turbo Lambos and Huracans, you know what I mean? Just wanted to add this section in because I forgot to mention it in the video when it comes to like the drivability and the tunability of this car. This is actually the fastest car that I've ever owned, and man, this thing shoots you back into your seat like a rocket. I think I'm about to mention that this car is pushing around 600 horsepower, and I tell you what, when you get up to the higher speeds, it gives you that sensation like you're on a roller coaster in your stomach. At least that's what I've heard from the passengers. And man, this car is so fast, and the torque and the acceleration is like no other. So I just wanted to say that while I was editing this video. And then I also noticed there's a little puddle of water dripping from my car, and I wanted to come on here and just tell you guys that's nothing to worry about. It's actually just water from the AC system just dripping down. It's a super common thing in these cars, so don't worry, it's not oil or coolant or anything like that. It's just water. But I just wanted to give you guys an update while I was editing. But now back to this video. So everybody knows about the tunability of these cars, but for my own liking, I just like how, you know, similar to the BMW community, everything is kind of readily available. There's a lot of aftermarket support when it comes to tuning, aero, wide body kits, anything that you want. And the tunability of these cars are endless, you know what I mean? I personally don't plan on going crazy with my car. It already has a stage 1 tuned on the car right now. And after talking to the tuner, I think we're pushing right around 600 horsepower. But I've never been a speed person first. I think I'm more aesthetic as well as sound. And then I'll look into the power upgrades last. But just knowing how many tuners there are to support you, you know, with however much power you want to go, as well as, you know, the future flame tunes that we're going to have on the car, I think that's an amazing drawing point to these cars. But number 5 on this list is actually going to be something very controversial in the early models, which is actually the interior. So I'll definitely be one of the first people to say that the interiors of the pre-LCI, if you will, GTRs are definitely outdated. It is like taking a time capsule back to 2008, 2009 when the car was released. They literally made no changes for like 10 years. And that's why a lot of people knock on the GTRs, because the interior, it doesn't reflect the price that you pay for these cars, which is like over $100,000, you know, for a supercar. But I absolutely love what they did, you know, on the 2017 plus models. You guys can see right here, I have the red interior all around. It looks so good, so premium. These seats are so comfortable. It's actually so plush right here, and it just grips you in. I actually thought these were Recaro seats, but they're not. But going back to the interior, I have red guts with the red extended leather over there, as you guys can see. And for those of you guys who know my F80, which is most of you, you guys know I had red extended leather as well as red seats in my car as well. Red guts was a must for me on my search for this car, as well as I needed it to be a 2017 plus because I wanted the facelift. I wanted the new updated interior as well as the new rear bumper as well. So yeah, a lot of people will knock on the GTR interior, but look at this. I literally have red extended leather inside the car, on the dash. I think it looks amazing. We have the red matching leather on the steering wheel as well. You know, it looks super premium. Doesn't look like it's made from Nissan. Super high quality leather, super plush, super premium if you ask me. And I absolutely love, you know, this red on white combo that I got. Interior to me is perfect. It's obviously not as modern and updated as the newer cars coming out, but that to me is fine because I kind of like the old school feel where, you know, I just have the screen with all my gauges here, boost, oil temperatures, transmission temperatures right here. And then I have the old analog cluster to look at. Nothing digital, just want to see how fast I'm going, my RPMs, as well as my oil temperatures. And yeah, that is what we see from the driver's position, and it looks so sick. Again, some of you guys might not agree. You do have this like cheaper looking carbon plastic right here, which is definitely a knock in the interior. But other than that, I think it looks amazing. I literally feel like I'm in a video game with this screen right here, the Gran Turismo screen with the coolant temps, oil temps. We have boost. And then again, I love this old analog cluster. It is definitely dated because they haven't changed anything again from 2008 when it comes to the cluster. But that to me is fine. That's not a deal breaker to me. This is my first coupe car as well. It's definitely not as practical as the F80 because these seats, you know, don't really do anything, but it does fit the bill for what I needed to do. And man, I can't be more happy. But let me know if you guys agree with my top 5 list. Next week, we're gonna try to come up with 5 things I dislike about the GTR, which is definitely gonna be hard. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, I've only owned the car for 3 months, so I'm still feeling out the car. I'm still learning it. But this is the best list that I could come up with, you know, after 3 months of ownership. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. Stay tuned for next week's video. We're gonna try to come up with 5 things that we dislike about the GTR, which is gonna be super hard. But I wanna thank you guys for watching this video. As always, make sure you guys drop a like, comment down below, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and we'll see you on next week's video. Take care. Peace.